minutes till broadcast. One minute till broadcast. Thirty seconds till broadcast. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin transmission.
Fighting for freedom every day.
Let me tell you, the response to the show has been absolutely amazing. People can't believe that a young conservative millennial continues to fight for constitutional principles, traditional values, and talks about issues that some are even afraid to talk about. But we do it because we understand the importance of this. And now we're seeing it absolutely blow up all across the nation.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
That's what I'm talking about. Hey, welcome into the Voice of Reason. It is a Monday, the greatest day of the entire week. I said it and I stick to it because we have a lot to get to and we are excited. We are under 2 weeks away, just about 2 weeks away from election time. That means that we need to kind of step up our game a little bit. What do you say? That means getting the word out to go and vote, which we say enough. I don't think we need to say that anymore, though, do we? You would think after a while, people are like, I get it. It's election time, and we're going to continue to, go to the polls, and we're going to vote. We're going to vote early. Early voting started here in Kansas today, so that's exciting. Everybody's all ramped up for that. Hey, welcome into the program, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas, all over on radio, TV, live streaming, podcasting in the heartland of America on social media. Although the Facebook Live, I don't think is working right now. I don't know why. Let me see if it's updated here yet. Not sure what's going on. I think it's social media censoring us. Now, it's up on YouTube. You can watch it on there. Also on Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, and the website at HooserReason.com. So we are everywhere else. But, of course, Facebook is not working, and I'm not quite sure why. So you can go to all the other places. It's all at Hooser Reason on Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, and on HooserReason.com on the website. And you can follow us on the live stream there. So we have the video stream going on. We have Podbean Live. We're on radio and TV all over. So thanks for hanging out with us today. Big show lined up for you. No guests today. Just you and I chitting the chat, doing the conservatism thing the way we like to each and every day. And my question to you is, have you seen over the years a change in the political spectrum? Let me explain. Not just ideology, because obviously we've seen a change in ideology as well, but a change in the parties, in how the parties operate, the Republicans and Democrats, on how the candidates that actually go under the parties, how we've evolved in the political world since, 10 years now, 20 years now, 30 years now. How far back? I was scrolling through social media today. During my job, I just like to scroll through and maybe listen to music or listen to something entertaining on social media. And actually, I've been watching, it's funny, there's a Trump rally that's going on in Arizona right now, massive crowd. So we may jump into that live here in just a little bit and play part of that once he gets up on stage. But there's a massive crowd. This is so different than what we saw so many years ago. I don't remember ever seeing crowds like this during George W. Bush's reign, or during the campaign for John McCain, or even the campaign really for Obama in that matter. The crowds weren't there. People weren't as engaged and energized. Regardless of whether you like someone or dislike somebody, it is more abrasive, yet more energetic, all at the same time. And there's something patriotic about it that I like. Also, it's just something foreign that I think a lot of people don't quite understand in today's times. And I can explain. A lot of people back in the day, you didn't talk about politics. You went to the voting booth and you shut the curtain and you voted and you walked out and no one knew who you actually voted for. You had a little bit of dialogue about ideas, but at the end of the day, Republicans and Democrats, conservatives and progressives, they weren't even progressives at that time. They were, I don't know what you call Democrats back in the day. They weren't necessarily liberal. They were just Democrats. The blue dog Democrats for the working class, the middle America, right? That's what they were for. Although they weren't, they tried to portray that, but they really weren't. There were some Democrats that did some good. But it was such a different time. When you talked about faith at the dinner table, when you talked about the political issues at the dinner table, and you could say, well, yeah, you know what? These guys got some stuff going on. These guys over here got some stuff going on, but we can all get along. It wasn't, you're a Democrat, you were the most evil person on the face of the earth, or you're a Republican, you're a Nazi, and we hate you, and we're going to abuse you and beat you up in the streets. So much different than what it was back in the day, wasn't it? I was going across as I was scrolling through social media today, listening to stuff, and I jumped up on YouTube, and I was trying to just listen to some music, listen to some stories or weird things or whatever I was in the mood for today. And I came across a video. And it was the very first televised presidential debate in U.S. history. And show of hands, how many people actually remember this one? It was the 1960 debate between Senator John F. Kennedy and then Vice President Richard Nixon. The very first presidential televised debate. And I listened to it. The whole thing. It was, hour and a half, whatever it was. And it was fascinating to watch. And maybe the Presidential Debate Commission should take a few notes on how this was done. Because the moderator, for one, did not call out candidates based on quote-unquote fact-checking. They did not try to go after one candidate or another. It was more of a town hall. It was they sat in chairs, and you asked a question, and you said, you go first, and they got up, and they walked over to a podium, and they spoke. And by the way, they didn't just speak for 60 seconds. They spoke for 5 minutes so they could really dive into an issue. And they talked about stats, and they talked about facts, and they talked about how we are in agreement on some issues, and here's where we differ in some ideas. Then they sat down, and the next guy got up and walked up to a different podium, and they started speaking for 5 minutes and talked about the ways they agreed and the ways they disagreed, and they brought up facts, not just for 60 seconds, but for a full 5 minutes or so. And it was beautiful. I loved it. Ate it up. Now, obviously, I was not alive at that time in the 1960 presidential debate between JFK and Richard Nixon. I was not alive at that time. I loved it because I'm a debater, so I really enjoy the actual debate style of it. But the way they both talked, about the greatness of America, so different than what we get today, isn't it? So much different. Right now, it's unfortunate, but there is a trend to where if you are campaigning, if you're knocking on doors, if you're trying to get people politically active, and you're wondering who's a Republican and who's Democrat, look and see if they have an American flag in their yard. Now, how pathetic and how sad is it that we can tell someone's political affiliation based on if they have an American flag flying outside? And what side do you think that's possibly on? Maybe it's not the side that's burning the flag out in the streets and saying that, progressivism's good, socialism's good, communism's a great thing. We need to tax the evil rich. We're ashamed of America, or America's always been a racist nation. We've always had slavery. We've always had segregation, all by the Democrats, but they're the ones that are trying to do their self-apology by trying to pawn it off into somebody else and say that they're no longer for something like that. So that would be the Democrats, the left side of the aisle that does that. Nowadays, very, very few. And as I mentioned, I'm a campaign manager for a state representative here in the local Wichita area. There's not been not a single one in this district that has been a Democrat with an American flag in their yard. Now, we have the list of registered Republicans in the area that have voted in past elections, and there are many more that have American flags that weren't on our list that we have gone to talk to, and every one of them, we got to make sure we have a Republican majority. We got to make sure that we have Trump stay in that office. We need to make sure we have to stop Governor Laura Kelly here in Kansas. For those that don't know, that's our current governor, a very far left-wing progressive Democrat. Those are all the ones that have the American flags. Not a single one has been a Democrat with an American flag in their yard. Now, I know there are probably Democrats, obviously, in this nation that have American flags flying in their yard, but I haven't seen any in this district, and there are very few compared to the Republicans that are out there. Now, that should not be a sign of political affiliation on whether you have an American flag in your yard. That's pathetic. That's sad, because at the end of the day, the ones that talk about unity, the ones that call for unity, they should be the ones just as us flying an American flag and saying, hey, guess what? We love America, and at the end of the day, we want America to be great, regardless of what side of the aisle's on. And whichever side of the aisle is actually going to become president or in the leadership of Congress in one chamber or the other, we can actually get along. That's not the times anymore. Oh, how the times have changed. Now we have the Democrats who despise Donald Trump for everything that he is, and say they will continue civil unrest until he's out of office. We have a Democrat Party as a whole that is run by corrupt anti-American individuals that have done insanely corruptible things, insanely treasonous acts as heads of office, know it, try to ignore it, brush the other way, put the blinders on, and continue on. And we can't necessarily say we just disagree with them politically, but other than that, they're still good people. We can't even say that anymore for many of the elected officials on both sides of the aisle, but predominantly the Democrats that tried to corrupt a political campaign in 2016, that tried to start a massive investigation fraudulently, that used the pay-for-play for our diplomatic international policy across the world, especially with Ukraine and with China. And yet we're okay with this. The problem with today's times is that we are so polar opposites. We have one side of the political aisle that used hearsay, third parties saying, well, I think I heard someone talk about this, as the facts in order to impeach a sitting president of the United States. And at the same time, when they're presented with facts that it was all false, and in fact, their side were the ones that were using the governments of other countries in order to try and abuse their power and use it for personal gain and try to sabotage somebody else. When we have actual hard factual evidence of it, they put on the blinders and say, nope, fake news. Not going to listen to it. That's how crazy times have been. I want to play for you, and I'm not going to play the whole thing because there's a lot of it, obviously. It's about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. This was the opening statement from John F. Kennedy, the Democrat, at that time. Now, think about the change between the party then in 1960 with John F. Kennedy and the times today with AOC, with Bernie Sanders, with Barack Obama, with Michelle Obama, with Joe Biden, with Hunter Biden, with all the other Democrats, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Harry Reid, and Adam Schiff, all of them, on what they say today compared to what was said back then.
In the election of 1860, Abraham Lincoln said the question was whether this nation could exist half slave or half free. In the election of 1960, and with the world around us, the question is whether the world will exist, half slave or half free, whether it will move in the direction of freedom, in the direction of the road that we are taking, or whether it will move in the direction of slavery. I think it will depend in great measure upon what we do here in the United States, that we build, on the kind of strength that we maintain. We discussed tonight domestic issues. But I would not want that to be any implication to be given that this does not involve directly our struggle with Mr. Khrushchev for survival. Mr. Khrushchev is in New York, and he maintains the communist offensive throughout the world because of the productive power of the Soviet Union itself. The Chinese communists have always had a large population, but they are important and dangerous now because they are mounting a major effort within their own country. The kind of country we have here, the kind of society we have, the kind of strength we build in the United States will be the defense of freedom. If we do well here, if we meet our obligations, if we're moving ahead, then I think freedom will be secure around the world. If we fail, then freedom fails. Therefore, I think the question before the American people is, are we doing as much as we can do? Are we as strong as we should be? Are we as strong as we must be if we're going to maintain our independence? And if we're going to maintain and hold out the hand of friendship to those who look to us for assistance, to those who look to us for survival. I should make it very clear that I do not think we're doing enough, that I am not satisfied as an American with the progress that we are making. This is a great country, but I think it could be a greater country. And this is a powerful country, but I think it could be a more powerful country.
That was John F. Kennedy, a Democrat. We're not powerful enough. We're a great country. We're not great enough right now. We're an amazing country. Condemning communism, condemning socialism, talking about China, saying that they are an enemy and that we need to work with them, yet we need to actually be strong to fight them. That's what Democrats used to be about. That's what America used to be like back in the day. And that's not what we see today. Now it is, they try and talk that a little bit, but at the same time, they're the ones out there with civil unrest, burning down buildings, saying this nation is horrible, that they want to apologize for this nation, that this nation's the worst thing in the world, and they want to start it and rebrand it from the ground up. They want to fundamentally transform the United States of America. Remember that from Barack Obama? Fundamentally transform it. Oh, how the times have changed. I think we can see which party has completely gone astray and has devolved, not evolved, but devolved into where it is today, and that would be the Democrat Party. Lots more coming up here on a Monday of The Voice of Reason. Stay tuned.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser with The Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left seems to find new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back, and we can help with that. Visit our website at HooserReason.com. There's some really great stuff for you. You can read the latest blog discussing topical issues and current events. Let us know your thoughts by filling out our monthly survey. Keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Listen to the podcast of your favorite guest or show, and check out our latest Voice of Reason product infomercials. Plus, you can find upcoming show schedules and guest lineups to plan your radio listening appropriately. And finally, make sure to become a Hoosier-holic by subscribing to the free newsletter. Stay up to date on the latest news of the show, fun facts of the month, and learn new ways to defend and preserve this great republic. It's all there at HooserReason.com. Again, HooserReason.com. Go check it out. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HooserReason.com. Miss part of the show? Don't worry about it. There's plenty of ways to catch the program, and here's how you can do it. First, make sure to tune in every day right here on your favorite radio station. We're here for you. Second, subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite sites. YouTube and iTunes, Spotify and Google Play, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. Have the show automatically downloaded to your favorite device. Last, visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can listen to the podcast, catch our special features, and more. It's the Voice of Reason on radio, TV, and online, helping you defend and preserve this great republic.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hold on here. I'm trying to fix the microphone. Where's the union when you need one, for golly's sake? My microphone keeps sliding as I hold it up here. So anyways, welcome back into the show. Great to have you along for the ride today on a Monday. Radio, TV, live streaming, podcasting. So for some reason, the Facebook Live's not working. I just shared the YouTube live stream onto the Facebook so that way you can click and actually watch it there. Not sure what's going on. I don't know. The internet's been acting funky, or maybe social media is just trying to silence us. Who knows? Probably a little bit of both, but nonetheless, had a message on social media, though. Andy, do you think JFK really meant it, or was he just saying that? Either way, whether he meant it or not, because obviously he was part of the Democrats, and the Democrats have been on the wrong side of history since the beginning, really, for a very long time. So regardless of whether he was actually meaning it or not, the fact that he said it, Democrats can't even say that anymore. When he said, this is a good country, I want to make it better, but things are doing well. We can do better. We're doing good, but we can do better, and I continuously want to improve. That's a statement from a politician saying, yeah, you know what? Things are great, hunky-dory. I want to make it great. Why Donald Trump make America great again? We want to improve. We want to progress. We want to evolve. We want to move further in a certain direction. Democrats can't even say that today. What they say is, look how bad everything is. Everything is terrible. Everything's the worst thing that you've ever heard in your entire life. That'd be a Joe Biden comment. Actually, no, his would be, the color of red today is the sky. That would be a Joe Biden statement. Nonetheless, they can't even say things are good any longer. They just have to say things are bad. Not that it's good and we want to improve, but just things are absolutely terrible, and therefore we are going to come in and be the great saviors and just save everything and make it all great again, which is what Democrats want to do. They are the God today. It is the Church of Liberalism, if you've read that book from Ann Coulter. It is truly a church. It is a cult. It is, you believe them because we don't look towards that higher power. If you believe in a higher power, we look towards government to solve those issues. So when government increases your taxes, you just go along with it. When government increases regulation, you just go along with it because you need to, because that's just what you have to do. And when there's a problem, you just look to government to solve the answer. And if you don't go along with it, then we'll find a way to make you go along with it, or we'll just do it because it's in your best interest and you just don't know what's best for you because we know what's best for you. That is the mindset of the progressive. Case in point, here's out of Los Angeles, CBS News. A ballot drop box. You know, those new ballot box drop boxes that are popping up all over the country, so people, when they do their mail-in ballots, they don't have to actually mail them. If they're concerned about their mail-in ballot being fraudulent or disappearing in the mail, that they can actually drop them off with absentee or early voting ballots right in this drop box all over the country. There have been drop boxes that are, quote-unquote, catching fire in Los Angeles. Thousands of ballots now have to be recounted or recast if you're not sure whether yours was in there or not. But from CBS Los Angeles, ballot drop box catches fire in Baldwin Park. I wonder why. Located outside Baldwin Park Library in the 4100 block of Baldwin Park Boulevard, was discovered on fire around 8 p.m. last night. Los Angeles County Fire Department crews arrived on scene and extinguished the blaze. I noticed the smoke coming out of the ballot box, and it was pretty heavy. According to one witness, firefighters had to install a hose into the slot of the box to put out the fire. Then they had to use a chainsaw to cut the box open and remove stacks of burned ballots. Gee, I wonder why. Wonder what could cause that. The only thing that could cause that is someone wanting to start that fire. Why? Because they probably don't like that ballot box being there and ways to, quote-unquote, sabotage the election. This is what we've come to today. If you don't vote the way that we want you to, then we need to make sure that we get into power because you just don't know what's good for you. It's sad, isn't it? Really is. That's the way the progressives work. Not to be just a Debbie Downer today, because I'm really not. I'm actually in a very cheery mood. But it's sad how we've come in this country to see where we've come from and where we were before and what we could potentially get back to with some civil discourse where we actually cherished our vote and one vote, one person, and we made sure that the voting was legit and legal and that you weren't an illegal alien and that you weren't a felon that just walked out of the prison to go and vote or even in prison to try and vote. You didn't try to pay off people's fees if they were voting illegally. We didn't try to register when we shouldn't be doing so, and you didn't burn someone else's ballots because you didn't like who they were voting for.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. While you listen to the delightful broadcast of the Voice of Reason, don't forget to check us out and follow us on all of our social media sites. Whether you're using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Minds.com, or Instagram, we're there for you. Find us at Hooser Reason on any of your social media platforms. You'll see special commentary, links to the articles and news that we use on the show, and videos of the broadcast. Plus, you can directly send us a message on social media during the show to let me know your thoughts. Many already do, and it's a great chat room for all of our great listeners. And you can always sign up for the Patreon site to get exclusive content, maybe hear show products before we air them on the radio, and a lot more. And when you support us on Patreon, you also help the show be able to fight for conservative values each and every day. So it's a win-win. Just find us at Hooser Reason on all of your social media platforms, or you can find a link to all of our social media sites on our website at HooserReason.com. We know you're on social media already, so bring some reason into your day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.
The Hooser Media Network is way more than just the voice of reason. It's your source to find numerous different online talk shows, podcasts, TV, and radio programs, all in one simple online location for you. From political talk to health talk to whatever you may be interested in, we're here for you. And I tell you, it's growing every day. Catch Tracy Maxfield with her podcast Engage, Educate, and Empower, discussing mental health issues in children and teenagers. From bullying, teenage suicide, addiction, ADHD, and so much more, learn from Tracy and her guests about symptoms, signs, and ways to talk to your children, plus so much more. Having battled depression, being the author of the internationally acclaimed book Escaping the Rabbit Hole, and being a retired nurse, Tracy is kind of the go-to on the subject. Make sure to find her on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, along with her website at tracymaxfield.com. Also, make sure to tune into the weekly podcast Jump, Pivot, and Roll with Shannon Stiles and Rachel Murphy. Taking that next big leap of faith is hard. Trying to write a book, maybe struggling with a relationship, looking to take that next big career step. What's stopping you? There's a lot of big questions there, and they're questions that Rachel and Shannon want to help with you each and every week. It's Jump, Pivot, and Roll on any of your favorite podcasting sites and on Facebook and YouTube. All of these shows and a heck of a lot more can be found on the Hooser Media Network Facebook and YouTube channels. Make sure to follow and subscribe to check them out today. Follow all the shows, and if you have any inquiries, check us out at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hooserholic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com. Oh, hi. You know, conservative messages now are more important than ever before. Election season, state legislative issues, and a rise in the radical left socialist progressive agenda. What we really need now more than ever before is knowledge and wisdom. That's where we come in. Hi, I'm Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. And I'm your voice for reasonable talk, conservative commentary, great guests and entertainment on radio, TV, and the internet. It's time to bring some common sense back into the discussion. National issues, state legislative issues, no matter where you may be, upcoming elections, and a heck of a lot more, we can bring traditional values, constitutional principles, and local activism back. And here's what you can do. First, follow us on all the social media platforms at Hooser Reason. You can watch the live stream of the show, leave comments, and even call into the program. Second, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all of your audio devices, from iTunes and Spotify to Google Play and TuneIn. Make sure to subscribe to have every episode automatically downloaded so you don't miss a single episode. Third, make sure to visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can catch our monthly blog talking about deeper discussions, see who's coming on the program, plus you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter to catch the latest on the show, monthly topics, upcoming interviews, and more. It's time to be that local activist again. That's what the Voice of Reason's all about. Why? Because that's kind of the reasonable thing to do. And it's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network.
When Reason Meets Radio. You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Welcome back into the show. Thanks for hanging out with us today on a Monday. Wherever you may be, radio, TV, live streaming, podcasting, doesn't really matter. Thanks for it. We appreciate you on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn. Facebook not working today for some reason. All the other ones should be working. You can at least just go to the website at HooserReason.com. Watch us live stream on there, as we do have that up and rolling for you. And you can follow us all over the social media at Hooser Reason. We do also have the Parler and the Minds.com. Yes, we are on both of those at Hooser Reason again as well there. Find us on there, and thanks for visiting the show. You want to know how important this election is? I mean, this is truly, and I know we always say this, and it's kind of generalized, and now we kind of get numb to these things. I don't like to get numb to certain situations. When you call someone a name enough times, after a while it gets numbing. When you hear about a crisis enough times, you begin to get numb to it, which is sad. All the shootings that happen in the nation, the Democrats get numb to it, so they just say, do something, government. We want you to fix it. So they pass some type of ridiculous gun regulation, and then poof, everybody's happy until the next one, and then, oh, we didn't do it enough. Government, you need to do something. But we just get numb to these because we hear it all the time. When we get called a racist all the time, we just kind of get numb to it. We're like, it's not true. You're dumb. You're completely ignorant. But nowadays, you can't even call somebody ignorant, because then, well, you're just not listening to real truth. What is real truth? What is absolute truth? We're not in philosophy class right now. We're in politics, which is very, I guess you could say it's kind of philosophy to some degree, but nonetheless, we want facts. We want truth. And although they say there's a relative truth, that's not true. 2 + 2 = 4. You cannot say otherwise, and you cannot call me a racist because we say 2 + 2 = 4. You need to have absolute truth. We don't want socialism in this nation, which is what the progressives actually are advocating for, which is why we see a horde of individuals showing up to rallies for Trump all over the nation. Right now, they're in Arizona. Trump about ready to speak. We'll try and go live to that here in just a little bit if he gets on stage in time during the program today. But I don't think the other side of the aisle quite understands how the lack of their evolution in political thought today has really changed, because they're not changing. The political scene is changing. And Donald Trump changed that political scene a long time ago, and they just don't understand. That's why all the polls said that he was going to lose in 2016, because they didn't know how to handle a Donald Trump. He's not a political Republican Democrat. He's not really a political conservative, progressive, liberal, whatever. He's not. He doesn't talk about the Constitution that much. He doesn't really talk about philosophy or theology a whole lot. He's just Trump. That's what he is. He's a populist. And I have my reservations about populists, but populism was needed at this time right now to shake up the status quo. Look, as you know, back in 2016, I was a Ted Cruz supporter. I love Ted Cruz. He's about the most constitutionalist conservative you can find. And I thought he would have done great. And it took me a while to get onto the boat of supporting Donald Trump, but I did so because, well, you know what? He was going to be a Republican candidate. We didn't want Hillary Clinton. So therefore, I voted for Donald Trump with skepticism. And I have to say that now I am so glad that I did. And I'm so glad that I support him. And I support him now that I ever supported him back then. Before, it was just like, okay, let's see what happens here. And now I'm so glad, because we realized, most of us realized, that just a constitutional conservative in the presidency was not going to solve anything. In the system, fighting the system while using the system was not going to work. Donald Trump came in and said, here's the tweets. Here's the messages. We're going to fire half the staff out of the White House. We're going to get rid of heads of different departments and agencies. We're going to start fresh, and we're going to do this brand new, baby. Let's get this ball going. And look how it's worked out. We're getting rid of so many establishment inner workings of the government that you and I usually despise. And they don't know how to handle it, which is why they all predicted in 2016 he was going to lose. And what are we looking at now again? They're all predicting that Donald Trump's going to lose again in 2020. According to the AP News story, Donald Trump outbreak and politics and Hillary Clinton in Russia just not working. The same attacks that Donald Trump used on Hillary Clinton just aren't working on Joe Biden. Now, back then they said it wasn't working at all. It's not working. He's throwing everything at her, and she's just bouncing right off of her. She's deflecting all of them. It's not working. It may have worked during the Republican primary when there were 10 candidates on that debate stage, but it's not going to work in that general election against someone like the Clintons, Hillary Clinton. It's not going to work against her. We can't stop that machine. It's the Clinton machine, and it's going to be a dominant landslide victory for the Democrats. Remember all that? Now they're like, well, he attacked her, and, that, I guess, worked, and he played it really good, and he went on the vicious assault and the offense to go after her, and it worked, but it's not working for Joe Biden this time. It may have worked last time, even though we didn't think it worked. It worked last time. It's not going to work this time. The president's attempt to recycle attacks he used on Hillary Clinton that year have so far failed to effectively damage Democrat Joe Biden. That's according to the AP story, by the way. And Trump has found himself dwelling more and more in the conservative media echo chamber, talking to an increasingly smaller portion of the electorate. You're kidding me, right? He's talking into the echo chamber of conservative media. Now, he was on some conservative talk radio shows last week. Or what was it, last week or the week before? Whatever. Outside of that, I'm pretty sure he's the most transparent president that we've ever seen. When he just walks to Air Force One and he stops, he's like, anybody got any questions? Let's talk about this for a second. Why are you a racist? Well, I'm not, so you can ask me that again. All right, thanks, guys. Have a great day. That's what he does every day. But yet now he's just in the conservative media echo chamber, and he's talking to a smaller portion of the electorate. I don't know if you realize or not, he just held a rally last week in Miami, Florida. One of the most progressive places where he lost the biggest in 2016, and where he went back to announce his reelection in Miami, Florida, and he had massive crowds. He just held another rally there last week again. Massive crowds all over. Now, if he's not trying to go directly into the heart of progressive areas, I don't know what else he could do. And by the way, in Miami, Florida, a very big Cuban population, very big Hispanic population, they know what socialism is. They know what dictators look like. And yet they're supporting Trump. So all these progressives on the media calling him a dictator, all these Republicans like Ben Sass up in Nebraska, that senator calling him a dictator, and then he plays well with dictators, and he attacks Christians and all this other garbage that the Republicans, or even some of them, are coming after him for. They don't understand. The people that actually live that stuff, that actually survive that stuff, they're all about Trump. In fact, there's a certain UFC star as well. Now, as you know, I'm a big fan of UFC. And that's where real men play sports. They don't kneel in front of the national anthem when they're playing basketball or football. That's a boy's game. That's not a man's game. I just have to throw that out there. UFC, that's a man's game. That's why I watch that, because I like to watch men actually participate in sports, not boys try and throw temper tantrums. So I won't watch the NFL. I won't watch baseball anymore. I won't watch basketball. I watch a little bit of NASCAR, but UFC is kind of my big thing. Why? Because men play it. Why? Because it's gruesome, and it's kind of the old school, like, hoorah, let's make this happen and see who the testosterone flowing guy is that's going to dominate this fight. That's why I enjoy it. But number two, they're real men. They respect, and a vast majority of them, who do you think they support? I'm sure there's some that support Democrats, but many of them support conservatives. Many of them support Donald Trump. In fact, there's one guy. Now, I have to admit, I haven't been the biggest fan of his, Jorge Masvidal. He is from Cuba, and he's an American UFC fighter. And I was really hoping that he was going to be the one that Conor McGregor would fight, because, as you know, I'm a fan of the Irishman with Conor McGregor. But Jorge Masvidal has had some brutal hits. Dominant. He's done very, very well. And he came out as a Cuban, as a Hispanic, full support of Donald Trump. He said this on the Daily Caller just a few days ago.
I'm going to let you in on something. The Democrats just think that they're entitled to the Latino vote. They think that we just have to hand it over to them. That's right. We sure as hell don't. You know what else is not going to work for them? Playing Despacito on your cell phone to pander to us. Hell no. You got to give us some credit for having heads on our shoulders. We either re-elect President Trump and keep America great. Amen. Or we let Joe Biden destroy the greatest country the world has ever seen. I've always seen things through a sports lens. That makes Donald Trump our head coach. And before the global pandemic, we were winning Super Bowls. And when you're winning Super Bowls, you don't fire the coach. Doesn't matter if you don't like the plays he runs, the players he puts on the field, or what he says on Twitter. You sure as hell don't replace him for another coach that's been in the business for 47 years at every level and never won a game.
So he was speaking at a rally, a Donald Trump rally, by the way, to Hispanics in Florida, and that's what he had to say. Jorge Masvidal, a Cuban UFC fighter. And he went on to say that, by the way, too, talking about he did an interview with Fox News, and this is what he had to say then.
I believe this country is the greatest country in the world. I believe that with every ounce of being in me and down to my soul. And I've had my fair share of what's on the other side of this great country, which is communism and socialism. And I've been dealing with it since a kid, through my family that's already here sharing stories with me, or my family that's still stuck in that system of oppression.
But yet the media won't cover that. Instead, they'll talk about LeBron James. They'll talk about the NFL players kneeling, the boys that try to throw temper tantrums and get paid millions of dollars to do it. These guys beat each other to a pulp and get paid a little bit, pennies on the dollar compared to NFL players, and they get it. They're in the real world. There are other ones as well where one of them, a Canadian, was like, yeah, after I get beat up at a UFC fight, I go down to America for my health care because why? I don't have to wait in line as long as I do in Canada. Yeah, it's free, but I don't get as good a quality. And he got in an argument. The UFC commentator trying to interview him tried to argue with him about why he would come down to America to get his health care done after he gets beaten up in a UFC fight instead of staying up there in Canada because it's free and it's socialized and everything's great, until the moderator was like, or the interviewer was like, all right, fine, let's move on to the next topic. You got Conor McGregor himself from Ireland, a progressively liberal predominant area, saying that legends recognize legends, and he's given President Trump kudos on how great he's doing as president. These guys get it. Men get it. Boys throw their temper tantrums. Now you can see why I support one sport, not the other.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. While you listen to the delightful broadcast of The Voice of Reason, don't forget to check us out and follow us on all of our social media sites. Whether you're using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Minds.com, or Instagram, we're there for you. Find us at Hooser Reason on any of your social media platforms. You'll see special commentary, links to the articles and news that we use on the show, and videos of the broadcast. Plus, you can directly send us a message on social media during the show to let me know your thoughts. Many already do, and it's a great chat room for all of our great listeners. And you can always sign up for the Patreon site to get exclusive content, maybe hear show products before we air them on the radio, and a lot more. And when you support us on Patreon, you also help the show be able to fight for conservative values each and every day. So it's a win-win. Just find us at Hooser Reason on all of your social media platforms, or you can find a link to all of our social media sites on our website at HooserReason.com. We know you're on social media already, so bring some reason into your day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Miss part of the show? Don't worry about it. There's plenty of ways to catch the program, and here's how you can do it. First, make sure to tune in every day right here on your favorite radio station. We're here for you. Second, subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite sites. YouTube and iTunes, Spotify and Google Play, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. Have the show automatically downloaded to your favorite device. Last, visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can listen to the podcast, catch our special features, and more. It's the Voice of Reason on radio, TV, and online, helping you defend and preserve this great republic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HooserReason.com.
Oh, hi. You know, conservative messages now are more important than ever before. Election season, state legislative issues, and a rise in the radical left socialist progressive agenda. What we really need now more than ever before is knowledge and wisdom. That's where we come in. Hi, I'm Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. And I'm your voice for reasonable talk, conservative commentary, great guests and entertainment on radio, TV, and the internet. It's time to bring some common sense back into the discussion. National issues, state legislative issues, no matter where you may be, upcoming elections, and a heck of a lot more, we can bring traditional values, constitutional principles, and local activism back. And here's what you can do. First, follow us on all the social media platforms at Hooser Reason. You can watch the live stream of the show, leave comments, and even call into the program. Second, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all of your audio devices, from iTunes and Spotify to Google Play and TuneIn. Make sure to subscribe to have every episode automatically downloaded so you don't miss a single episode. Third, make sure to visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can catch our monthly blog talking about deeper discussions, see who's coming on the program, plus you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter to catch the latest on the show, monthly topics, upcoming interviews, and more. It's time to be that local activist again. That's what the Voice of Reason's all about. Why? Because that's kind of the reasonable thing to do. And it's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hooserholic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com. Hey, I hope you're enjoying the program today. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite podcasting sites and have the show automatically downloaded to your phone or computer every single day. Just find us on any podcasting site or go to HooserReason.podbean.com. And be sure to check out our Patreon site, become the ultimate Hooserholic, and help us fight for conservative values every day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Now back to the national broadcast of the Voice of Reason.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
I have to say, I absolutely love that clip from Jorge Masvidal from the UFC. Phenomenal. And just as we saw after the first debate, when 67% of Hispanic individuals on Telemundo, the Spanish TV station nationwide, 67% of them said that Donald Trump won the election. When you have Hispanics, especially Cubans, coming over and supporting Donald Trump, understanding what the socialist radicals are doing on the left side of the aisle, when you see this, then you know there is a massive movement. The media can try and say that Donald Trump's racist and hates Hispanic people as much as they want. It's not true. And most people, while we live in an information age, you can go back, you can listen to his actual comments, you can listen on YouTube, you can find real information based on not what someone says about him, based on the hearsay that Democrats supposedly just love. I heard a rumor that Donald Trump colluded with Russia, and I heard a rumor that he was in there talking quietly on his cell phone about it. Shh, we should impeach him. Okay, impeached. Oh, wait a second. We have documented emails showing that that was all fabricated and a lie, and that Hillary Clinton all set up. Shh. Fake news. Fake news. People are waking up. The Hispanic population, which is why Jorge Masvidal came out and said that. Kudos to him. Awesome. I'm now going to have him up on my poll a little bit. Now, if he fights Conor McGregor, I'm still not going to support him. But at the end of the day, he's, spot on. I've been fighting tyranny my entire life, my entire childhood, my entire family. I've been fighting this. And we don't want to see this any longer. Donald Trump is the winning coach. You may not like some of his plays. You may not like who he puts on the field. But you know what? He's winning Super Bowls. Joe Biden's been a coach for 47 years and hasn't won a game. Beautiful analogy. Beautiful. Real quickly, we got a few minutes left here. Let's go into the mailbox, shall we? We don't do this very often, so let's go back to our mailbox. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com, and let's see the latest.
What's in the mailbox?
So if you remember, last week I got an email from a listener, Doug, who is a new listener, a Democrat listener, who was set up with a bet on what I don't even know what the first bet was about. He lost the bet, and now he needs to shave his head. He needs to paint red, white, and blue on his head, and he needs to paint Trump on his head as well as part of the bet. But also part of the bet, he had to email the show because his friends that set him up for this, conservatives, listen to the program. So whoever you are, thank you for listening and setting up this bet and making him reach out to me. I thought it was fantastic. Well, we've exchanged emails back and forth a few times. And if you remember, what was it, Wednesday or Thursday last week, I threw out the idea that we should set up a bet for the general election. And I'd be willing to do something as well for this bet and set the stakes. So we came to somewhat of an agreement. He's actually going to join the show with us on Wednesday and have a little fun with this, with our bet. But according to what we've kind of set up, which they're making an official contract and everything on this, which I find fantastic. So they're going to send that to me once they're all done. So here's what the bet is going to be so far. And let me know your thoughts on this. According to Doug, since he lost the bet and he's supposed to do all this, we're kind of doing a double or nothing here. In order for him to not have to paint his head or shave his head or paint Trump on his head, he predicts that in the general election, that Kansas's open Senate seat, we have an open Senate seat here in Kansas, a major race. Republicans haven't lost the Senate since the 1930s in this state, so we'll see if it flips blue. The Democrat has a ton more money, like $20 million compared to like $3 million for the Republican, but we also have a Republican presidential ticket that's going to rock this state. His prediction is that Kansas's Senate seat is going to turn blue, that the U.S. Senate is going to flip to a Democrat majority, and that Joe Biden wins the general election. Those are his three predictions. Now, all three of them have to come true in order for him to waive his shaving of the head and painting of the Trump on his head. If they don't, then he still has to go through with it, and he said he would include painting the voice of reason on his head as well. Now, here's the kicker. If all of those three things do come true, of the Kansas Senate seat turning blue, of the U.S. Senate seat flipping to a Democrat majority, and for Joe Biden to win the general election, if all three of those come true, then I have to do something, which it sounds like what he wants me to do is he wants me to shave my beard, he wants me to potentially shave my head, and he wants me to paint Joe on my forehead. I think I'm going to accept. All three of those have to happen in order for me to do that. So the odds are in my favor. May the odds be ever in your favor. The odds are in my favor here. We'll talk about it more when he comes on the program on Wednesday, but the wager has been set. The bet has been laid down. The chips are on the table. Let's see what plays out here in the next 2 weeks. We are just over 2 weeks away from Election Day, so we'll see what comes out of that, and let's have a little fun with it. What do you say? I'm a betting kind of guy. I'm a gambling kind of man, so let's have a little fun with it. Until then, be your own voice of reason. It's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. This is the Voice of Reason podcast going up in a little bit. We have awesome guests all across the board. We have video Skype interviews all this week just about, so make sure to tune into the live streaming. We have Joe Arpaio, Sheriff from Arizona, coming on the show on Wednesday. Don't miss that one. Until then, everybody have a great Monday. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left seems to find new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back, and we can help with that. Visit our website at HooserReason.com. There's some really great stuff for you. You can read the latest blog discussing topical issues and current events. Let us know your thoughts by filling out our monthly survey. Keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Listen to the podcast of your favorite guest or show, and check out our latest Voice of Reason product infomercials. Plus, you can find upcoming show schedules and guest lineups to plan your radio listening appropriately. And finally, make sure to become a Hoosier-holic by subscribing to the free newsletter. Stay up to date on the latest news of the show, fun facts of the month, and learn new ways to defend and preserve this great republic. It's all there at HooserReason.com. Again, HooserReason.com. Go check it out. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.